Hello, hello. I've got a soft little hello here because it's not quite 7 o'clock, but it will be in about 40 seconds, maybe a little less, depending on my clock. I'm so glad to be here. I'm excited to get started tonight. I've had a great day of resting, which it's Sunday, a day of rest. So I hope you have taken advantage of that as well. And welcome. If you are just now jumping on, take this moment here before we get started to invite a friend. Invite somebody that you know would benefit from being inspired, from being encouraged, somebody that you know that is dealing with change that maybe needs a little bit of a boost. Now's the time to invite them. Just click that little button and say share or invite a friend. And here we are. It's time to get started. Hello, everybody. It's me, Shannon LaBruyere, and I am live and loving it tonight. It is Sunday, August 16th, and we are getting ready to learn how to thrive in change. We can thrive in the change that we love, the change that we don't love. Oh, Tammy's jumping on. Hi, Tammy. I'm so glad you're here. Love to see your comment there. It's great to see you. And tonight we are going to be talking about the Thrive Principle, hashtag trust the process. Hashtag trust the process. Processes are our friends when we are in the midst of upheaval and change. Processes are the threads of consistency, keyword there. Processes are those threads of consistency that allow us to not veer too off into crazy when we are in the midst of great change. So we are going to be talking tonight about hashtag trust the process, focusing on consistency compounds. Consistency compounds. So as we get started for that, I want to share my most consistent, well, not the most consistent thing I do, but certainly one of the most consistent things I do, and that is have 2 mugs of coffee every morning when I get up to do my quiet time and my study time early in the morning. I drink 2 mugs, they're pretty big, of thumb roast coffee, because it's the best coffee I've ever drunk or drank. I really need to look that up as a grammar girl. I need to find out, is it drunk or drank? But Thumb Roast Coffee is delicious, and they're a sponsor of the Thrive and Change Sunday Night Live program podcast. And if you want to enjoy their delicious coffee, just because you are a listener or a viewer, you can go to thumbroastcoffee.com. Type in Thrive when you place your order in that code section, and you'll get 15% off. So go order some coffee online, and you can start consistently enjoying delicious coffee every day, whether you drink it in the morning like I do, or you drink it in the afternoon for a little pick. Doesn't matter. It's wonderful. You will love it. Don't forget to type in Thrive and get 15% off. Yay! All right, let's see. We're going to put this here. Trust the process. That's what we're talking about today. Trust the process. Those Thrive principles that allow us to nourish our roots, even while maybe our flowers aren't in big bloom, right? We don't have a lot of fruit hanging on the trees. Things have been a rough way to go, but we can still know that we are nourishing those things in us that are going to allow us to be resilient and spring back when the season is right. So trust the process is what we're talking about tonight. And we are going to work on, let me see. How do I get rid of that? You guys, I just figured out, I'm using this new thing. It's really cool. There we go. Awesome. All right. Fun stuff. Let's get started. We're talking about consistency compounds. How many of you have ever heard of compound interest? If you are an adult who's looking at ever retiring, the idea of compound interest is very important because what compound interest is when you invest just a little bit of money and you leave it in a savings account over time, it earns money. And if you leave that interest in there, it'll earn more money. And pretty soon, instead of it just being $10 a week that you're putting into savings, you're putting in $10 a week every week over the course of many years. And that $10 is adding up week upon week upon week. But as it grows, it's also earning more interest. So the payoff is bigger. And so you can, by starting to save at an early age, have $1 million or more in your retirement account because you have consistently contributed to it. Compound interest, the consistency of your investment compounds. Okay, let's see. We've got Alicia Lawson. Yay, Alicia, I'm glad you're here. Loving to talk about consistency. Tammy's here. Carol is here, and she loves Thumb Roast coffee. Carol says, teach kids early about compound interest. Isn't that the truth? When we can learn the value of compound interest when it comes to our savings, we have a lot more in our retirement account. When we're getting tired of working, we'll have something in there that we can fall back on. But it doesn't just work with money. Consistency compounds. Consistency in every area of our life compounds. So we are going to focus on some of the consistent things that we can do when we are in the midst of great change, so that we can continue to thrive, so that it will not just be one action plus one action plus one action, but it will be one action times another action times another action. So the ways that we choose to be consistent when we're in the midst of great change is really important to what the payoff is going to be. All right, so I'm just going to confess, not all of my consistency during this COVID has been positive. And Lisa, I'm glad you're here. Happy Sunday. Good to see you. So for example, I developed a habit. My habit in the midst of all that upheaval was, before I went to bed, I'd sit down, I'd do a little bit of social media. I do a lot of work on social media. So I'd post on social media, do some things. Maybe I'd read a book, maybe I'd study, listen to a podcast, just fun stuff, relaxing. But while I was relaxing, not paying attention, I would eat pistachios. Any pistachio lovers in the house? Thumbs up, hearts if you love pistachios. Well, folks, let me tell you that getting in a habit of mindlessly eating pistachios day after day after day does not just mean that you're eating a few pistachios a day after day after day. Pretty soon, the effects of that calorie intake starts to add up, and then it starts to compound. And before I knew it, I'd put on an extra 8 pounds, just like that, because I was consistently doing something that was comforting in a mild way, but I wasn't intentional about it. So that's the first thing that I want you to know about consistency compounds. When we're in the midst of change, it doesn't matter what consistency we're implementing, it will have a compound effect. So whatever we're consistent in will have a compound effect. If we are consistently focusing on what we're lacking, when we consistently focus on what we lost and not focus on being here and now, what can I do right now? When we're talking about dealing with change, looking backwards, right? We're not going that way. But when we consistently mourn the thing that's gone, and I'm not talking about people and grieving here. We're talking about change, like my life is different. That grieving's a different thing. And I don't want to minimize that. So maybe mourn is not the best word to use. So let me back that up, because I don't want you to take that away. Mourning is a different thing. When we consistently obsess on what we used to have and refuse to move forward because we want that back, regardless of what that is, we are creating a consistent attitude that will compound in us getting more and more and more stuck. And the more, think about when you've got restricted movement. I had a shoulder issue for about 4 years. It tormented me, a rotator cuff issue. And so what happened was I strained it somehow and it hurt. And so because it hurt, I started to protect it. Didn't realize it. A lot of the things that we do in the midst of great change, we don't recognize. So make a note of this. Not only do the things that we do consistently compound, whether they're good effects or bad, the things that we do consistently, if we are not paying attention, are often unintentional. So we have to tune in and be aware, what am I doing regularly here and what is the result? What is the result? So what I didn't realize was I was starting to protect this shoulder. So this shoulder, I would move just fine. And you guys can see now this shoulder is hiked up or hiked down separate. I mean, differently from the other one. So this shoulder, I started to protect it. Maybe you've been there with me. I started to not reach quite as far. So I started I'd move more forward than instead of reaching because it hurt my shoulder. And then pretty soon I couldn't move my arm because I'd stopped moving my arm. And my consistent refusal to move made me more and more restricted. It was a cycle that was heading downward, right? So I was consistently doing something to protect my arm, but it was making things worse, not better. So I had to go to physical therapy and we started working on how do we stretch it? How do we get that mobility back? So know that whatever you're doing consistently that is restricting you, the more restricted you get, the more restricted you get. Consistency compounds. It just keeps building, whether it's for the good or the bad. So know this. When we are talking about trust the process works whether we're using something good or something bad, okay? But I want to shift gears because I want to talk about how we can build healthy consistency in our lives in the midst of great change, even great change like a pandemic or financial upheaval or job situations, job losses, job changes, virtual education. These are all very real changes. And it is reasonable for you to look at these changes and go, holy cow, this is a lot. Yep, it is a lot. And I'm going to tell you a few ways that you can make sure that all of that unknown, the things that are changing all around you, here are some ways that you can remain consistent in the midst of that. And the consistency that you maintain will compound and it will build more healthy structure for you when everything else is going crazy. All right, are we ready? All right, so the first thing is this. Look for the simple things in your world that you can control. There are many things that we cannot. We do not know what the future holds in regards to the COVID virus. We don't know what restrictions or what freedoms we'll be able to have when it comes to social connecting, being out in public. You know, many places there are masks, there's social distancing in place, there are rules in many places of how many people can gather. We don't know what the future holds, but we can consistently control the things that are within our sphere. This may be, and this might sound simple, but I'm here to tell you this is valuable and this has helped me. It may be as simple as making sure you get dressed every day. How many times have you heard this, right? You put clothes on every day. It's a start. I'm going to do something every day. When COVID happened, many of us, our businesses turned upside down. We had to do business differently than what we've done it. In my case, one of the things that I had no consistency left in my business, the consistency that I had centered around face-to-face interactions with people. How many of you that is the same for you? And I love seeing these hearts. If it's the same for you, that your structure was centered around face-to-face interactions, there was upheaval when that went away. And in my case, I didn't have a boss telling me, okay, Shannon, do it this way. I had to look at my chaos and say, okay, where can I create consistency in my business so that I am not just going off the deep end or doing nothing or binge watching The Crown on Netflix and eating more pistachios. So what I decided to do was to start doing an email, and I posted on the Thrive and Change page, an email tool for the people that I serve, the businesses I served, that would allow them to continue to grow as leaders with just 5 minutes a day. So it was something that they could quickly look at, they could connect with, and they would have something they could share with their staff that would allow them to continue to stay focused on being a good leader during a time of chaos when we needed really good leaders. That tool also works really well for people who want to lead themselves well. So I determined in March that I would do this every day, 5 days a week, every business day, and I would send out this email. It's called Today I Will Lead. And that consistency, knowing that I had to get up every morning and do that email, create that image, write that little paragraph to inspire and help leaders to be more effective, to be confident. When I did that, I didn't realize that I was actually putting a structure in place that was going to have consistency compounding in my business. It was a tool for me just quickly to just know that I was going to do something for my business every day. And it very quickly became something that was much bigger than that. And it's now a cornerstone of some of the services I offer. Consistency compounded. That good thing that I did started gaining momentum and doing more. We have some people here I know that are consistent Sunday Night Live viewers. You have shared with me, several of you have shared with me that the consistency of watching Sunday Night Live has allowed you to be able to keep something in your control that allows you to focus on something positive in the midst of all the chaos. Something as simple as once a week, I'm going to tune in, and I'm not here to tell you, you do not have to watch Sunday Night Live. There are so many ways that you can connect on a consistent basis with something that's going to feed your soul, encourage you, that's going to help you to move forward. But that consistency in the area that you can control in your behavior is going to be key for you in all kinds of change to be able to continue to thrive. So are you hearing me? If you are, give me thumbs up, give me those hearts. Tammy says she loves reading the Today I Will Lead. I really enjoyed writing the Today I Will Lead. And for those of you who've never experienced it, you can take a scroll on the Shannon LaBruyere Thrive and Change page. I'm broadcasting live from that page right now. You can take a scroll down the page and you will see some examples of the Today I Will Lead. But if you like to get on the email list where I send that right to your email box, you can share it easily with people. When it speaks to you, you're able to easily share it with others, people on your team. If you are a leader in a company or a business, it's a great tool for you just to forward it on and say, hey guys, take a look. But it also, when you sign up, comes with a great tool that helps you to know how to grow yourself as a leader and other people if you choose in 5 minutes a day or less. It's easier than you think. So I pinned that at the top of the Thrive and Change page. So when you go there or leave and come back, it'll be right there. And I encourage you to sign up and get that. Check it out and see what you think. And definitely check out the tip sheet that comes with it. It's free, but it is powerful. I only want to give you powerful things. I would never give you something junky. So download it. You'll use it, I promise. All right. So focusing on establishing consistency in the areas that we can control, whether it's I'm going to brush my teeth every day, I'm going to get dressed every day, or I'm going to do one thing in my business or for my kids every day, or once a week, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to feed my soul. I'm going to be encouraged. Whatever that is, you can decide to do that. And now's the time. Now's the time. If you have not had consistency up till now, since all this chaos with the pandemic happened, now's the time to start looking and saying, where can I establish consistency? And if you do not know where to start, you can get a piece of paper out and start making a list of the things that you know you do every day. And you don't have to leave anything out. I eat pistachios every night before I go to bed, which, by the way, I've stopped that. But maybe you do. Maybe you do. Make a list of what you do every day. Do you brush your teeth every day? Do you comb your hair every day? Do you call your mom or your dad every day? Whatever it is, make a list of that. That list is going to help you see things are not as chaotic as what they feel. All right? When you make that list, these are the things that I know are happening every day. When you do that, you can get a sense of calm knowing there are things that are happening every day, even though there is a long list of things that aren't, things that are different. We can focus on those. Sometimes we need to. But when we're talking about consistency that compounds, focusing on those things that we do that are helpful consistently is going to be where we get the biggest payoff, right? Stop doing the things that aren't paying off. Use that energy to do the things that will. Make sense? All right. So choosing consistency, we want to start small. The doable thing, the thing that comes naturally to us, because that consistent behavior stabilizes other things in our life. Once we've got that established, you will start seeing that you are making progress. You are gaining momentum. Even in the midst of all the change that's outside, your consistency in those habits as it builds is going to exponentially impact your attitude. It will impact your ability to impact others. It's going to impact your mood, right? If you, for example, consistently read the negative news and listen to the negative news and read the negative social posts, it is not shocking that consistent negativity would start to have an effect on your mood. And when your mood starts to drop, what happens? Even more stuff starts to pile in, right? It's like the big hole that now everything's dumping in, everything bad that could possibly happen, all the negative, that downhill slide, right? Consistency with the positive things allows us to continue to move uphill toward good stuff, the uphill life that we want. It's not always easy. It costs us to implement consistent positive habits. But those consistent positive habits in the midst of the chaos allows us to keep moving ourselves up and out of it. Doesn't mean that you won't have some dips, but it will mean that your trend will be upward. All right. A few things I want to share about people who have done things consistently in the midst of great upheaval and have seen huge results for it. One of them is somebody who's very near to me and close to me, and she lost her husband about 10 years ago now. She lost her husband at a young age, and I watched her in the midst of the unthinkable change, one of the most debilitating changes that I can ever think of experiencing. And I watched her as she every day got up, every day ate breakfast, every day got dressed, And then as she started to do that consistently, she didn't allow herself to lay and languish. She kept moving just little tiny steps. And then she ended up very soon knowing she did not want to stay stuck. She didn't want to get that restricted movement like I had gotten with my rotator cuff, trying to protect myself. I made it worse. She enrolled in college. She studied to be a nurse. And she kept consistently showing up, and her world got bigger and bigger, and her healing got bigger and bigger and more and more. And I was amazed at the consistency with which she approached her grief journey, that she was not going to give up. She was going to have hard times. She had lots of help, but she kept walking. A huge inspiration, consistently walking every day. It pays off. She's got a wonderful life now. The grief is part of her that never goes away. That loss is part of who she is, but she's got her bachelor's in nursing. She's remarried and has a lovely husband and a wonderful life and grandkids and people she impacts. But it was because of consistency, walking in the small things, the things she could control, brush my teeth, get dressed. Then it spreads out to, I'm going to learn and grow. I'm going to feed my soul so that it's bigger. And then the third step was, I'm going to share with others. I'm going to make this go outward. That's the power of consistency in our lives, you guys. When we are able to thrive and change by following this process of being consistent in those small, easy things that are just part of everyday life, and we make ourselves do them. And then we become consistent in growing ourselves, making sure that we're that we're filling our heads and our hearts with positive, encouraging truth, good stuff. Where our focus goes, we go. Where our focus goes, our energy flows, right? So we start with the small thing. We move up to, what are we feeding ourselves? How can we keep ourselves strong and positive and moving? And then we eventually, having been consistent in those things, are in a position where we can impact many other people in our world. Thinking about one of my clients, one of the members of Livestream Leadership. She is the first lady of a church. Her husband is the pastor. And she has been consistent for the past 2 years, consistently feeding herself principles and truth that helped her over that time consistently to get good, strong self-leadership habits, to develop self-discipline, to learn how to be resilient and change, to learn how to focus on the positive things. She was consistent in that leading up to the pandemic. The pandemic hit. And she and her family and her church were able to make the adjustment. They were able to make the adjustment to going live, doing virtual, connecting with people. They were able to make that change because of the consistency that compounded over time, so that when the big emergency hit, they were ready to go. And this is what's even cooler. That same person, she and her husband, their church leadership, came together and said, in the midst of this upheaval, we need to provide something consistently every day for people so that they can stay connected and they can have some spiritual encouragement. And so since March, every night, they've been having a prayer call where people from all over the world can call in and pray every night. Consistent. Some nights there's not a lot of people. Some nights there's a bunch of people, but they're doing it every day, consistency. And now they're starting to see that compound effect in the people who are in their church. They are able to reach more people in their community. They are able to serve more. How about the insurance agent that I work with that has consistently invested in growing as a leader, but also growing as a person, so that she's the kind of person who doesn't collapse under pressure. She wants to be the kind of person who thrives in the midst of difficult change and is a blessing to other people, who can help them, her clients, her customers, her team, her employees. And in the midst of a crisis, she's grown her business, she's grown her sales, she's grown her team, she's brought on new people. All of this when so many other people have shut down. Why? Because her consistency is compounding. How about you in your life, the changes that you're going on? Take a look. Where are you consistently doing something that is going to feed those roots? And if you aren't, now's the time. A very easy way for you to start. Start here, brush those teeth, comb that hair, put on that shirt and pants. For those of you who do a lot of Zooming, don't be sitting there in your pajamas. Consistently do those things that you know you have control over. And then start branching out, leaning in to feeding your brain, feeding your heart, feeding your soul. It's not for everybody, but if you are at all interested in feeding your ability to lead yourself well, a great way for you to do that would be to follow that link I posted at the top of Thrive and Change page and sign up to get Today I Will Lead, and just read it and then let it go. Read it and move on. But do that every day and watch what happens. Awesome. Okay, so Alicia, this is cool. I'm going to bring up Alicia's comment here. Alicia's talking about consistently paying down debt. Yeah, feels like it's too big, right? Feels like it just could never be done sometimes, those mountains of debt, but that consistent, keep at it. It's the power of compound interest in reverse, right? If you've got a lot of debt, credit card debt or something, that interest just grows that thing. But as you continue to pay it down, the interest comes down, the interest comes down, the interest comes down, and that debt shrinks. But it requires consistency. No matter what, every time, write the check. I love it. And congratulations, Alicia, for recognizing that. And yeah, share that journey. I would love to know how that's going for you. It's exhilarating to know that the consistency that we can exhibit every day allows us to have a much bigger impact than if we were just throwing a little bit here and throwing a little bit there. That focus, right? Where our focus goes, the energy flows. Paying down debt, consistency compounds. The impact's huge. Anybody else, where does consistency show up in your life? Where do you know you're consistent? Share it with us. Let's see, where do you find your consistency, that positive consistency that compounds? Share it with us. Anybody, type it in the comments. We got a minute or two. For those of you who have to go, I know I usually have half an hour. So take care. Mwah. But for those of you who want to hang out for a minute, I've got a little extra time and I would love to hear, where are you consistently doing something that's going to yield a positive result, even in the midst of all of this chaos of COVID-19? Some of mine I'm doing Today I Will Lead. Absolutely. Another one is I enrolled in a training class that allows me to create a really powerful and rich membership program for leaders who want to be confident, effective, and inspired. And I am passionate about that topic. So I am absolutely diving into that every day. Ooh, I love this one. Michelle Eberly says this. She's supporting my family consistently, keeping those ties strong. I love that. I love that, Michelle. Our family needs us, don't they? Times like this, they absolutely do. Alicia's got another one. Praying consistently has helped positively change my perspective to my job. Nice. I love it. There's two really great things that are happening there, Alicia. Thank you for sharing it. That praying consistency helps change our attitude to be more positive, which then has an impact on the perspective that we look at everything in our life, including our jobs. Here's what Tammy has to say. New products every month on my website, church consistently, being in a leadership course every week. I love it. Tammy, you're an example here of how being consistent can expand. Even in the midst of a pandemic, it can expand, and our consistency can impact our businesses, new products every month on your website. That's got to be a great boon for your clients. Your customers must love that. They've got something fresh to look at. They can't go out and shop, but they can go to your website and buy some scrapbooking supplies. I love it. Going to church, getting that positive attitude, right? Like Alicia said, feeding our soul, making sure that we're learning and growing. That leadership course, live stream leadership, right? Just once a week, connecting with other people who are positive so that we can impact more. I love it. Thank you, Tammy. Anybody else before we wrap this up? The benefits of being consistent compound over time. It is my hope and my prayer that Thrive in Change, that Sunday Night Live can be a tool for you to build positive consistency in your life so that you are more able to deal with whatever change comes your way. It's my heart. That's why I do this every week. It's one of the things I'm consistent in. Let's see. Carol says this, staying positive has been important. Staying positive during this time. We are going to get through this and be better. I love that. Yes, we are going to get through this and be better. Love my weekly leadership class. And she invites everybody, if you want to be a part, join us. I agree. It has been an amazing example of consistency for the people who attend and who are part of it, but also an amazing example of what happens when people join together and mastermind principles that are timeless, that allow us to lead ourselves well. It's incredible, really, really inspiring. And I'll tell you what, during times like this, inspiration can sometimes be in short supply. So it's absolutely a great place to go and get it. Tammy says, if I don't watch Sunday Night Live, I always catch it later in the week. That's amazing. Yes. And you can catch it later in the week. It's here, right? It's here on the Facebook page. You can catch it on YouTube. So you can go to my YouTube channel, Shannon LaBruyere. Just type it in. You'll see me smiling. Or there's a podcast. You can search for it, Apple Podcasts, Thrive and Change. Apple Podcasts, Spotify. There's ways. I appreciate and value that you consider this a good investment of your time, a good, consistent investment of your time. I hope that you have a wonderful week, you guys. Thank you for sharing what you're doing to stay consistent. And I look forward next week to talking with you more about this idea of making the choices, even if they're difficult, paying the price so that we can grow as people and be stronger and more resilient in the midst of change. I will talk to you soon. God bless you. Goodbye.